Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
There is absolutely nothing like the terror of not being able to find your child. One morning years ago, while my husband was out for a run and I was still sleeping, it was pretty early in the morning, our 3-year-old walked out the front door and disappeared for about half an hour. When my husband came home, he startled me awake by yelling for our child, and immediately we were outside yelling his name. We called our neighbors for help. Thankfully, he was not far. He was walking with a kind neighbor who had the presence of mind not to let a 3-year-old keep walking on their own. It was the most agonizing 30 minutes of my life. It was early morning and we were loud, but we didn't care. Because when you're looking for someone you care about, you make a big fuss and you couldn't care less. Hey, I'm Jen. This is the Bible for Busy People, and this week we've been talking about the good questions Jesus asks in the Bible and how they're still relevant for us today. This week we've been over the questions, who do you say I am? Why are you so afraid? What do you want me to do for you? And do you still not understand? Today we're talking about another, and it's in John chapter 20 that we'll find that question today. In verse 1, it says, "Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one Jesus loved, and said, 'They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him.' So Peter and the other disciple started for the tomb. Both were running, but get this, the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first." The other disciple, in case you hadn't guessed, is the author of this book, John. He bent over and looked in at the strips of linen lying there, but did not go in. Then Simon Peter came along behind him and went straight into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as the cloth that had been wrapped around Jesus' head. The cloth was still lying in its place, separate from the linen. Finally, the other disciple, who had reached the tomb first, let there be no confusion, also went inside. He saw and believed. They still did not understand from Scripture that Jesus had to rise from the dead. Then the disciples went back to where they were staying. Mary made a fuss about Jesus missing from the tomb because she missed her dear friend and the one that she followed, the one she called Lord. I want to note that the details of the story, who outran whom, are silly details, but they only seem to contribute to the truth of the story and the very real humanness of its characters. What kind of made-up story has details like that? They seem silly at the time, but I think they only serve to establish the truth and the humanness of the people in it. We find in the passage that John believed even though he hadn't come to the answers yet. Jennifer Viha Pietz points this out on the Working Preacher blog. He believed even though he didn't yet realize Jesus was actually coming back to them, alive and well. I'm going to go on to verse 11. It says, "Now Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw 2 angels in white, seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, 'Woman, why are you crying?' 'They've taken my Lord away,' she said, 'and I don't know where they have put him.' At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not realize that it was Jesus. I don't know why. Maybe he wasn't turned towards her, or maybe she wasn't looking at his face. He asked her, 'Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you are looking for?' Thinking he was the gardener, she said, 'Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have put him, and I will get him.' Jesus said to her, 'Mary.' She turned toward him, so maybe she was looking away, and cried out in Aramaic, 'Rabboni,' which means teacher. Jesus said, 'Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God.' And Mary Magdalene went to the disciples with the news, 'I have seen the Lord,' and she told them that he had said these things to her." So interestingly, while Peter and John initially ran to the tomb, they ended up going home, satisfied that Jesus was gone. The scripture says that John believed. But Mary stayed. She was very much there and present and seeking. She was concerned and still dealing with the grief of losing Jesus. Viha Pietz shares, Mary's seemingly unnoticed presence outside the tomb calls us to be attentive to those who live just beyond the doors of our homes or the church building who need the hope of resurrection life. We are called to enter uncomfortable places of grief and loneliness with our neighbors and share tables of mutual blessing with new friends. And again, like we mentioned before, Mary was not quiet about her sorrow. The Greek word used here for weeps is klaio, which means to sob or wail aloud, instead of dakruyo, which means to cry silently. I have to ask, what does it look like for you to seek out Jesus in the middle of your pain? Are you loudly crying out? Maybe in a literal way, maybe in a metaphorical way. Another notable Greek word here in the good question Jesus asked is zeteo, which is the word for seek, as in whom do you seek? In the NIV, it is who is it you are looking for? This word means to seek by inquiring, to investigate, to reach a binding resolution, to search to get to the bottom of a matter, all according to Help's Word Studies. The same word is used in Luke 15 in the parable of the lost coin, where it says the woman lights a lamp, sweeps the floor, and searches carefully for that coin. It feels accurate to say that Mary felt lost without Jesus. Her heart cried out for him. She desperately wanted to be with her friend. She wasn't ready to give up on him, and she sought him actively. This right here is a picture of a wholehearted way to seek God. And it's the way God seeks us too. So whom do you seek? How do you seek Jesus? And what prompts you to run to him? I'll leave you with these questions. Thanks for chatting with me this week, and we'll talk again next week. If you are listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume two things about you. First of all, that you're a busy person. And second, that you are in need of a restful break. Cannon Beach Conference Center is the place for a beautiful coastal retreat. Whether it's one of their enriching conferences or your own church or ministry event, you can find out more at 800-745-1546 or visit cbcc.net. Thank you to Cannon Beach Conference Center for sponsoring the Bible for Busy People.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.